Elena Martinez clutched her coffee cup tighter as she stepped into the towering glass building that housed Blackwood Industries. The morning sun reflected off the pristine windows, creating a dazzling display that made her squint. At 22, she had never imagined she would set foot in one of Manhattan's most prestigious tech companies, let alone work there as a marketing intern. Her worn-out sneakers squeaked against the marble floor as she made her way to the reception desk. The lobby was a masterpiece of modern architecture, with high ceilings and sleek furniture that probably cost more than her entire college tuition. Lena felt completely out of place in her simple blue dress and cardigan, surrounded by people in expensive suits who seemed to glide rather than walk. "Good morning, I'm Elena Martinez. Today's my first day as a marketing intern," she told the receptionist, trying to keep her voice steady despite her nervousness. The elegant woman behind the desk smiled warmly and handed her a visitor's badge. "Welcome to Blackwood Industries. Elena, take the elevator to the 15th floor. Ms. Roberts from Human Resources will meet you there." The fateful encounter. Elena stepped into the elevator, her heart beating faster with each floor they climbed. She had worked so hard to get this internship, sending dozens of applications and going through multiple interview rounds. Coming from a small town in Ohio where her mother worked as a nurse and her father as a mechanic, this opportunity felt like a dream come true. The elevator suddenly jerked to a stop on the 20th floor, though Elena had pressed the button. For the 15th, the doors opened, and a man stepped in without looking up from his phone. He was tall, probably around 6 feet, with dark brown hair, perfectly styled, and wearing a charcoal gray suit that fit him like it was made specifically for his body. Elena noticed his strong jawline and the way he carried himself with complete confidence. There was something magnetic about his presence that made her feel both nervous and curious at the same time. She tried not to stare, focusing instead on the floor numbers as they lit up. "Excuse me?" the man said suddenly, his voice deep and smooth. "You pressed 15, but you're holding a visitor's badge. Are you new here?" Elena looked up and found herself staring into the most intense green eyes she had ever seen. For a moment, she forgot how to speak. "Yes, I'm starting my internship today in the marketing department." He studied her face with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Marketing department," he repeated, as if testing how the words sounded. "What's your name?" "Elena Martinez," she replied. Wondering why the stranger seemed so interested in her details, the elevator dinged softly as it reached the 15th floor. "Elena Martinez," he said with a slight smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Welcome to Blackwood Industries." The shocking discovery as Elena stepped out of the elevator. She turned back to say thank you, but the doors had already closed. She stood there for a moment, feeling strangely affected by the brief encounter. There had been something about the way he looked at her that made her skin tingle and her heart race. Miss Roberts, a friendly woman in her 40s, appeared in the hallway. "Elena, perfect timing. I'm Janet Roberts, ready for your first day."
"Yes."
"Absolutely," Elena replied, trying to push thoughts of the mysterious man from the elevator out of her mind. Janet led her through a series of hallways, lined with glass offices and conference rooms. The marketing department was buzzing with activity. People moving between desks with laptops and coffee cups, discussing campaigns and strategies in hushed but excited tones. "Before we get you settled, there's an all-hands meeting in 10 minutes, Janet explained. "It's a monthly tradition where our CEO addresses the entire company. It's a great opportunity for you to see how we operate at the highest level." Elena nodded enthusiastically. She had read about Vincent Blackwood, a young CEO who had built the company from nothing into a billion-dollar empire in just 7 years. He was known for being brilliant but ruthless, innovative but demanding. She was curious to see him in person. The revelation: the auditorium was packed with employees, and Elena found a seat in the back row. The lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd as a figure walked onto the stage. Elena's breath caught in her throat. It was him. The man from the elevator, Vincent Blackwood, stood at the podium with the same confident presence she had noticed earlier, but now it was amplified by the knowledge of who he actually was. He began speaking about the company's quarterly results and upcoming projects, his voice carrying easily through the large space. Elena felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She had been so casual with him, so unaware of his importance. He was not just any employee. He was the CEO, the most powerful person in the building. And she had treated him like a regular colleague. As Vincent continued his presentation, his eyes swept across the audience. For just a moment, his gaze found hers in the back row. Leaving. From that distance, she could see the slight upturn of his lips, as if he was amused by something only he knew. Innovation doesn't happen in isolation, Vincent was saying. It happens when different perspectives come together, when fresh minds challenge old assumptions. That's why we continue to bring new talent into our organization, people who aren't afraid to think differently. Elena wondered if those words were meant for the entire audience, or if she was imagining a personal message in them. The unexpected attention after the meeting. Employees filed out of the auditorium in small groups discussing Vincent's announcements. Elena walked slowly, still processing the shock of discovering that the intriguing stranger from the elevator was actually the CEO she had been reading about for months. Elena, a voice called behind her. She turned to find Vincent Blackwood walking toward her. Having somehow navigated through the crowd without anyone stopping him for questions or comments. "I hope the meeting was informative," he said, stopping. Just close enough that she could catch a hint of his cologne, something expensive and subtle. "Yes, very much so," Elena managed to reply, acutely aware that other employees were watching their interaction with curious expressions. "I'm interested to hear your perspective on our marketing strategies," Vincent continued, ignoring the stares from his employees. "Perhaps we could discuss them over coffee sometime." Elena's mind raced. Is the CEO of Blackwood Industries actually asking her for coffee on her first day? "I would like that," she heard herself say, though part of her wondered if she was making a terrible mistake. Vincent smiled, and this time it reached his eyes, transforming his entire face. "Excellent. My assistant will be in touch." As he walked away, Elena stood frozen in place, watching his retreating figure. She had no idea that this moment would change everything, that the powerful man who had just shown interest in her thoughts would soon become someone she couldn't stop thinking about. Someone who would challenge everything she thought she knew about love, power, and herself. The beginning of everything, Elena spent the rest of her first day in a daze, trying to focus on orientation materials and introductions to her new colleagues. But her mind kept wandering back to Vincent Blackwood. There was something about him that went beyond his obvious success and good looks. In their brief interactions, she had sensed a complexity, a depth that intrigued her, as she rode the subway home to her tiny studio apartment. Elena stared at her reflection in the dark window and wondered what she had gotten herself into. Was just a small-town girl with big dreams. And he was a billionaire CEO who could probably have any woman he wanted. But there had been something in the way he looked at her, something that made her believe that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something extraordinary. She had no way of knowing that Vincent Blackwood was sitting in his penthouse office at that very moment, unable to concentrate on the stack of contracts on his desk because he couldn't stop thinking about a young woman with dark eyes and a genuine smile who had somehow managed to capture his attention in a way no one else ever had. The collision of their worlds had begun, and neither of them would ever be the same. 3 days had passed since Elena's first encounter with Vincent Blackwood. She had almost convinced herself that their conversation after the company meeting was just a polite gesture from a CEO trying to make a new intern feel welcome. She was organizing marketing reports when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Coffee tomorrow at 10 a.m. Blue Moon Cafe on 5th Street. Looking forward to our discussion about marketing strategies, Vincent." Elena stared at the message, reading it 3 times to make sure she wasn't imagining it. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed back a simple, "I'll be there." The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of nervous energy and second-guessing her decision to accept. The private meeting Blue Moon Cafe was a small, intimate place tucked between 2 larger buildings, the kind of spot that most people walked past without noticing. Elena arrived 5 minutes early, choosing a corner table where they could talk privately. She had spent an hour that morning deciding what to wear, finally settling on a simple black dress that was professional but not too formal. Vincent arrived exactly on time, looking effortlessly elegant in dark jeans and a navy sweater that emphasized his broad shoulders. He moved through the cafe with the same confident stride she remembered, but there was something different about him outside the corporate environment. He seemed more relaxed, more human. "Thank you for meeting me," he said, sliding into the seat. Across from her, "I hope this place is okay." "I prefer somewhere we can actually hear each other talk," Elena nodded, trying to ignore how her pulse quickened when he smiled at her. "It's perfect. I love small places like this." They ordered coffee, and Vincent leaned back in his chair, studying her face with an intensity that made her feel exposed and thrilled at the same time. "Tell me about yourself, Elena. What brought you to New York?" Sharing stories. Elena found herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected. She told him about growing up in Ohio, about her parents who had worked multiple jobs to help her through college, about her dreams of working in marketing for a company that could make a real difference in the world. "I've always believed that good marketing isn't just about selling products," she said, her enthusiasm overcoming her nervousness. "It's about connecting with people, understanding what they really need and want." Vincent listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that showed he was genuinely interested in her perspective. When she finished talking, he was quiet for a moment, stirring his coffee slowly. "You know," he said finally, "I built Blackwood Industries because I wanted to create something meaningful, something that would last. But somewhere along the way, I think I lost sight of the human element you're talking about." Elena was surprised by his honesty. This wasn't the ruthless businessman she had read about in magazines. This was someone who seemed genuinely thoughtful about his work and its impact. "What about you?" she asked. "What drives Vincent Blackwood when he's not being the CEO?" The man behind the title Vincent's expression shifted, becoming more guarded. "Most people don't ask me that question. They're usually more interested in my net worth or my business strategies." "I'm not most people," Elena replied boldly, then immediately felt heat rise to her cheeks at her own audacity. Vincent's eyes sparkled with something that looked like amusement and appreciation. "No, you're definitely not most people." He paused, seeming to make a decision. "I suppose what drives me is the fear of becoming irrelevant, of building something that doesn't matter. My father was a small business owner who worked himself into an early grave trying to keep his shop afloat. I swore I would never struggle like that." Elena could hear the pain in his voice, hidden beneath layers of success and confidence. "It sounds like you've honored his memory by building something he would be proud of." "I hope so," Vincent said quietly. "Though sometimes I wonder if I've sacrificed too much along the way." The growing attraction, their coffee meeting stretched into lunch, and lunch turned into a long walk through Central Park. Elena found herself laughing at Vincent's dry humor and sharing stories she rarely told anyone. He told her about his early days as an entrepreneur, working 18-hour days in a cramped apartment, surviving on pizza and determination. "Why are you telling me all this?" Elena asked, as they sat on a bench overlooking the lake. "I'm just an intern." Vincent turned to face her fully, his green eyes serious. "Because when I look at you, I don't see just an intern. I see someone who reminds me why I started this company in the first place." The words hung in the air between them, charged with meaning that went far beyond professional mentorship. Lena felt her heart racing as Vincent moved slightly closer on the bench. "Psst," she said softly, "this is complicated. You're my boss, and I'm nobody special." "Elena," he replied, his voice low and intense, "you're wrong about being nobody special. And as for the rest, ... He reached out and gently touched her hand. "Maybe some things are worth being complicated for." The office dynamics the following. Week at work was torture for Elena. She tried to focus on her assignments. But every time she heard Vincent's voice in the hallway or caught a glimpse of him in a meeting, her concentration scattered like leaves in the wind. She replayed their conversation in the park over and over, analyzing every word and gesture. Her colleague, Jessica, a friendly marketing coordinator in her late 20s, noticed Elena's distraction. "You seem different lately," Jessica observed. During their lunch break, more energetic but also more nervous. "Everything okay?" Elena forced a smile. "Just adjusting to the new environment, I guess. Well, whatever it is, keep it up. Your work on the Morrison campaign proposal was impressive. People are starting to notice your ideas." Elena felt a flush of pride mixed with anxiety. She wanted to succeed on her own merits, not because of any personal connection to the CEO, the thought that people might eventually discover her growing relationship with Vincent made her stomach clench with worry. The unexpected invitation that evening. As Elena was packing up her desk to leave, her computer chimed with a new email. It was from Vincent's personal assistant, requesting her presence at a small dinner meeting the following evening to discuss innovative marketing approaches for the Q4 campaign. Elena stared at the email, recognizing it for what it really was. An invitation that had nothing to do with business and everything to do with the magnetic pull she felt every time she was near Vincent. She knew she should decline, should maintain professional boundaries. But the memory of his touch on her hand and the way he had looked at her in the park made her type, "I'll be there," before she could talk herself out of it. The intimate dinner? The dinner was held at an exclusive restaurant on the Upper East Side. It's a kind of place where reservations were made months in advance and the wine list read like a novel. Elena arrived wearing the one sophisticated dress she owned, a deep blue number she had bought for her college graduation. To her surprise, when she was led to the private dining room, Vincent was alone. No other executives, no business agenda. Just him sitting at a table set for two, with candles casting warm light across his face. "I thought this was a business dinner," Elena said, though she made no move to leave. "It is business," Vincent replied with a smile that was anything but professional. "The business of getting to know you better." Elena felt a thrill of excitement. Mixed with apprehension, she was in completely uncharted territory. Playing a game she didn't fully understand with stakes that seemed to grow higher every time she saw him. The confession as the evening progressed. The conversation flowed as easily as the expensive wine Vincent had ordered. They talked about books, travel, dreams for the future. Elena found herself forgetting that she was dining with one of the most powerful men in the city. He was just Vincent, funny and thoughtful, and incredibly attractive. "Elena," Vincent said as the waiter cleared their dessert plates, "I need to tell you something." She looked up, noting the serious tone in his voice. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that first day in the elevator. I know this puts you in a difficult position. I know it's not fair to you professionally. But I can't pretend anymore that this is just mentorship or business interest." Elena's breath caught. Here was the confession she had been both hoping for and dreading. "Vincent, I don't know what to say." "Say what you're feeling," he replied, reaching across the table to take her hand. "Not what you think you should feel, not what's professional or appropriate, just what's real." Elena looked down at their joined hands, his fingers strong and warm around hers. When she looked back up, the words came before she could stop them. "I think about you too. All the time. And it scares me because I don't know how to navigate this." Vincent's smile was radiant. "Then we'll figure it out together." The point of no return-ness, Vincent walked her to the taxi he had called. Elena knew that everything had changed between them. They stood on the sidewalk, the city lights reflecting in his eyes, and she felt like she was standing at the edge of a cliff, about to jump into something that could either destroy her or transform her life completely. "Elena," Vincent said softly, stepping closer until she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "I want you to know that whatever happens between us, I will never let it hurt your career. You have my word." Before she could respond, he leaned down and kissed her gently, his lips soft and warm against hers. The kiss was brief but electric, sending shockwaves through her entire body. When they broke apart, Elena felt dizzy and exhilarated. "Good night," he whispered against her forehead as the taxi pulled away. Elena watched Vincent's figure grow smaller in the rear window. She touched her lips, still feeling the ghost of his kiss, and realized that there was no going back now. She had fallen for Vincent Blackwood completely and irrevocably. And tomorrow, she would have to figure out how to face him at work, knowing that everything between them had fundamentally changed. The dangerous game had begun, and Elena was no longer sure who was winning. Elena barely slept that night, replaying Vincent's kiss over and over in her mind. When her alarm went off at 6:30, she felt like she had been awake for days. Standing in front of her small bathroom mirror, she tried to prepare herself for seeing Vincent at work. How do you act normal around someone who has just turned your world upside down? She chose her clothes carefully, settling on a professional gray blazer and black pants that made her feel confident and put together. As she rode the subway to work, Elena practiced what she would say if she encountered Vincent in the hallway. But every scenario felt awkward and forced. The marketing department buzzed with its usual morning energy when Elena arrived. She threw herself into her work, hoping that focusing on the Morrison campaign would distract her from thoughts of Vincent. It worked for about an hour. Elena Martinez, please report to the 20th floor immediately, came the announcement. Over the intercom system, every head in the marketing department turned to look at her. Jessica raised an eyebrow. The 20th floor. It's executive territory. What did you do? Elena's heart hammered against her ribs as she made her way to the elevator. The 20th floor was Vincent's domain, and being summoned there so publicly felt like a declaration that everyone could interpret. The executive floor of the elevator ride felt endless. When the doors opened, Elena stepped into a world of polished marble and floor-to-ceiling windows that offered breathtaking views of Manhattan. Vincent's assistant, a composed woman named Margaret, greeted her with a knowing smile. "Mr. Blackwood is waiting for you in his office," Margaret said, gesturing toward the imposing double doors at the end of the hallway. Elena knocked softly and heard Vincent's voice call for her to enter. His office was even more impressive than she had imagined, with modern furniture, abstract artwork, and windows that made the city look like a miniature model below. Vincent stood with his back to her and looking out at the skyline. He was wearing a dark suit that emphasized his tall frame. And when he turned around, Elena saw something in his expression that she couldn't quite identify. "Close the door," he said quietly. The private conversation Elena did as he asked her, hands trembling slightly. When she turned back around, Vincent was studying her face with an intensity that made her feel exposed. "How are you feeling this morning?" he asked, his voice gentler than she expected. "Confused," Elena admitted. "Don't know how to do this, Vincent. I don't know how to be around you at work knowing what happened last night." Vincent walked toward her slowly, stopping just close enough that she could catch his familiar scent. "Elena, I want you to understand something. What's happening between us has nothing to do with your job performance or your career here. You're brilliant at what you do, and that's completely separate from how I feel about you personally. But people will talk," Elena said. "They'll assume I'm getting special treatment or that I'm only here because of you." "Let them talk," Vincent replied firmly. "The people whose opinions matter will judge you based on your work, and your work speaks for itself." Elena wanted to believe him, but she had seen how office relationships could destroy careers, especially when there was such an imbalance of power. "I need time to think," she said finally. Vincent nodded, though she could see disappointment flicker across his features. "Take all the time you need. But Elena, don't let fear make this decision for you. We have something real here, something worth fighting for." The rumors begin by lunchtime. Elena could feel the whispers following her through the hallways. Her summons to the 20th floor hadn't gone unnoticed, and the office gossip mill was working overtime. Jessica cornered her in the break room. "Spill," Jessica demanded. "What was that about this morning? And don't tell me it was just work, because nobody gets called to Blackwood's office for routine stuff." Elena stirred her coffee nervously. "It was about the Morrison campaign. He wanted to discuss some of my ideas." Jessica's expression was skeptical. "Elena, I've been here for 3 years, and I've never been called to his office. Not once." "You've been here for what, 2 weeks?" Before Elena could respond, 2 other colleagues joined them, their curiosity evident. "Is it true you had dinner with the CEO?" asked Mark from the creative team. Elena's stomach dropped. "How did you know?" "About that?" "My girlfriend works at Aurelius," Mark replied, naming the exclusive restaurant where she and Vincent had dined. "She said she saw you there with Blackwood last night. Looked pretty cozy." The confrontation word spread quickly through the office, and by the end of the day, Elena could feel the weight of everyone's stares and whispered conversations. Some colleagues seemed impressed, others appeared resentful, and a few looked at her with open skepticism about her qualifications. The breaking point came when Elena overheard 2 senior marketing managers talking in the hallway. "I don't care how talented she supposedly is," one was saying. "Nobody gets that kind of access to Blackwood unless there's something else going on. It's not fair to the rest of us who've been working our asses off for years," the other replied. "Some intern shows up and suddenly she's dining with the CEO and getting private meetings." Elena felt her cheeks burn with humiliation and anger. She had worked incredibly hard to get where she was, and the suggestion that she was using her relationship with Vincent to advance her career was both insulting and painful. The decision that evening, Elena sat in her small apartment staring at her phone. She had Vincent's personal number now, and she knew he was waiting to hear from her. But the events of the day had crystallized her fears about pursuing a relationship. With him, she thought about her parents, who had sacrificed so much to give her opportunities they never had. She thought about her dreams of building a successful career based on her own merits. And she thought about how easy it would be for everything she had worked for to be dismissed as the result of sleeping with the boss. Finally, she picked up her phone and typed a message, "We need to talk, tomorrow after work." Vincent's response came immediately, "My penthouse. I'll send you the address." The penthouse, Vincent's penthouse, was everything Elena had expected and more. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, and the minimalist decor spoke of expensive taste and unlimited resources. Vincent greeted her at the door, wearing jeans and a casual shirt that somehow made him look even more attractive than his business suits. "Would you like some wine?" he offered, leading her to a seating area that overlooked Central Park. "No. Thank you," Elena replied. Knowing she needed to keep her head clear for this conversation, Vincent poured himself a glass of red wine and sat across from her. His expression serious. "You look like you've made a decision." Elena took a deep breath. "People are talking, Vincent, about us, about why I'm getting opportunities other people aren't. I can't build my career under a cloud of suspicion." "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying we need to stop this before it goes any further. I can't be the woman who slept her way to the top, and I won't let our relationship overshadow my professional accomplishments." The fight for love. Vincent set down his wine glass and leaned forward. "Elena, you're letting other people's jealousy and small-mindedness dictate your happiness. Do you really want to live your life based on what gossips in the office think?" "It's not just gossip," Elena protested. "It's my reputation, my integrity, everything I've worked for." "And what about what we have together?" Vincent's voice was intense, passionate. "What about the connection we both feel? Are you really willing to throw that away because some people can't handle the idea that you might deserve good things in your life?" Elena felt tears prick at her eyes. "You don't understand. You've never had to prove yourself the way I have. You've never been the outsider who had to work twice as hard just to be taken seriously." Vincent was quiet for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was softer. "You're right. I don't understand that struggle completely, but I understand what it feels like to be alone, to build walls around yourself to protect what matters most. And Elena, what matters most to me right now is you." "The revelation, there's something I need to tell you," Vincent continued, standing up and walking to the window. "Something I've never told anyone." Elena waited, sensing that whatever he was about to share would change everything between them. "Years ago, I was engaged," Vincent said, his back still turned to her. "Her name was Sophia, and I thought she loved me. It turned out she loved the idea of being married to a billionaire more than she loved me. When I found out she was having an affair with my business partner, it nearly destroyed me." He turned around, and Elena could see the pain in his eyes. "Since then, I've kept everyone at arm's length. I convinced myself that real love was a luxury I couldn't afford, that it was better to be alone than to risk that kind of betrayal again." Elena felt her heart breaking for him. "Vincent, I'm so sorry." "The point is," Vincent continued, walking back toward her, "when I met you, everything changed. For the first time in years, I felt like I could trust someone, like I could be myself without worrying about ulterior motives. You make me want to be better, Elena. You make me want to take risks again." The choice. Elena stood up, closing the distance between them. "And you terrify me," she admitted, "because I've never felt anything like this before, and I don't know how to handle it." Vincent reached out and cupped her face in his hands. "Then let's be terrified together. Let's figure it out as we go." Elena closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. "What if this ruins everything? What if we can't make it work?" "What if we can?" Vincent countered. "What if this is the beginning of something extraordinary?" Elena opened her eyes and saw her own feelings reflected in his gaze. The love, the fear, the hope, the uncertainty, everything she was feeling was written across his face. "I love you," she whispered, the words escaping before she could stop them. Vincent's smile was radiant. "I love you too, more than I ever thought possible." The new beginning when Vincent kissed her. This time it wasn't gentle or tentative. It was passionate and desperate, filled with all the emotion they had been holding back. Elena melted into his embrace, finally allowing herself to feel everything she had been fighting. "We'll face whatever comes together," Vincent murmured against her lips. "The gossips, the challenges, everything. As long as we're honest with each other and trust what we have, we can handle anything." Elena pulled back to look at him, seeing not just the successful CEO, but the vulnerable man who had trusted her with his heart. Together, she agreed, as they stood in his penthouse, overlooking the glittering city below. Elena realized that love wasn't about avoiding risks or protecting yourself from potential pain. It was about finding someone worth fighting for. Someone who made you brave enough to face whatever obstacles lay ahead. Vincent Blackwood had claimed her heart. But in doing so, he had discovered that love wasn't about possession or control. It was about partnership, vulnerability, the courage to build something beautiful together despite the odds. "The promise, Elena," Vincent said, taking her hands in his. "I promise you that we'll handle this the right way. We'll be transparent about our relationship when the time is right, and I'll make sure your career is protected. Your success will be your own, not a reflection of who you're dating." Elena smiled, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. "And I promise to stop letting fear make my decisions." "You're right. We have something special, and it's worth fighting for." As the sun set over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Elena and Vincent began planning their future together. It wouldn't be easy, navigating a relationship in the public eye while building their respective careers. But they had something that many people spent their entire lives searching for. They had found their perfect match in the most unexpected place. And against all odds, they were going to make it work. The arrogant CEO had discovered that true love required humility, vulnerability, and the courage to let someone else see you as you really are. And Elena had learned that sometimes the greatest risk is the one most worth taking. Their love story. It was just beginning, but already they knew it was going to be extraordinary.